Hey, welcome into another episode of Conquer Corona here, the side segment on the Fearless Flipping podcast. Appreciate you joining us and appreciate Jason Pritchard being here on the Zoom link with us. And Jason, I want to give a real quick intro because, you know, people have probably seen your episode in the past, but in case they haven't, Jason does a lot of flipping, a lot of wholesaling, but recently, you know, I want to say we aired your episode back in like August and you were at 33 or 34 rentals. And here we are now, not even 8 calendar months later, and you've got another 22 to 23 to your name. You're moving fast. So let's see, you know, what all this does to you. But I mean, I want to just kind of, as always, go back here and figure out what happened to you when you realized this thing was real. What happened to you in your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we all kind of processed everything a little bit differently. I think for me, there was definitely some fear and some worry, I think, when we first found out about how serious the virus was. I don't think that I took it as serious, and I didn't realize how fast things were going to kind of progress and move along. And I think that was the most surprising thing for me initially. Like I went into the weekend prior to shelter in place here in our market happening, not really thinking that it was that big of a deal, to be honest with you. And then Monday, like I kind of got the feeling like, oh wow, this is probably going to happen. And then
it was like overnight,
everything was shut down. It was crazy, man. And so I think the speed of it was kind of shocking to me. And so I think my biggest fear, honestly, was number one was like, how is my rental portfolio going to perform? Number two, what we were going to do with the active projects that we had on the books, right? And then number three, just thinking about what kind of changes and shifts are we going to make to shore up cash. I think that was a big thing for me. Eliminate any inefficiencies in the business and try to make the business more profitable within its just kind of the way that it currently is right now. And just how to improve and get better overall, and what are the changes that we're going to need to make to capitalize on opportunities that we're going to come in the future.
Let's talk about those three things. So the first one you mentioned was the rental portfolio. How have you seen it being affected, and what have you done to adjust?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we've got 55 total rentals that I own. 42 of those have tenants in there. The rest are either we're fixing up and we're getting ready to put tenants in. So of those 42, the numbers are still kind of trickling in, but right now we've had 3 tenants that have submitted supporting documentation showing that they either lost their job or they had reduced income due to the coronavirus. So we've worked with them to put them on some type of payment plan, and just, you know, come up with a way that makes sense for everybody. You know, we're talking to them and we're being sympathetic, but we're also trying to get them to understand that this isn't a pass, that you don't get to not pay your rent, and right. That if we can't come up with something that works, you know, an eviction is almost inevitable. And everybody's understanding, and we're trying to be as understanding and as flexible as we can, but still kind of be true to our business. So
and that's just 3 of the 55 that you've had any sort of submission for?
That's it.
Good.
It's those 3. And then we've got 2 people that are kind of like habitually late. And so those are long-term tenants. And so we're just kind of, you know, working with them and talking with them. But overall, it was nothing like I kind of thought like what my initial fears were going to be. You know what I mean? I think, you know, human nature is sometimes, you kind of think, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? What happens if nobody pays? What happens if only half pays? And, fortunately for me, I only buy for cash flow. So everything has to have positive cash flow. So even if we're in a position where we had a big percentage of tenants not pay, we'd still be able to cover our debt service. But right now it's not even, you know, anything out of the normal. So I think
that's good.
We're almost as usual, man. So it's pretty good. Yeah, we're fortunate.
Yeah, that's very good. So now what about the second thing you mentioned, which was the active projects? You said you have somewhere around 9 to 10 going on. Have any of those, since this all started, closed? And what did you see if they did close? What was the experience there?
So we've had 2 of the properties that we had on the books closed and sold to new buyers, whether it was a hotel that we sold to another investor or a flip that we sold to, somebody that was going to own or occupy the property. So we saw those were in escrow prior to the shelter in place.
Okay.
And I think everybody was kind of worried, like, hey, we're hearing a lot about escrows falling out for different reasons. both of those buyers performed, so I was really happy about that. I think what we're working on right now is what we're going to do with the 8 or 9 projects that we have that we were planning on, buying, fixing, and doing more like retail flips. And so we're evaluating like, hey, do I just throw these on the market right now and just try to wholesale them and maybe make, a smaller profit, but just, get that money back to my investors, lock in that profit, and just kind of live to fight another day type of thing. There's some that we have made the commitment, but we're already rehabbing them. We're not going to stop halfway through the rehab, so we're just going to see that through and stick those on the market. I think fortunately for me, everything that I do as far as flips is pretty well below the median. The sweet spot for me in this market is buy for 100, sell for around 200. And those make good rentals. They make good wholesale deals. They make good hotel deals. They work as flips. There's a big buyer pool and a big demand for them. And so I think we're just trying to make decisions on what we're going to do with each and every one to try to move through them as fast as possible. That's really the goal, is just get them off the books, try to lock in whatever profit we can, and kind of wait and see where the dust is going to settle.
So the $1 million question, and I just don't know anyone that has been able to really confidently answer this one. You said buy for 100, sell for 200. That buy for 100 now, do you think it's still selling for 200? Do you think it's too early to tell? Like, how are we supposed to know ARVs right now in this kind of deal?
I think it's a good question. I think it's right now, it's probably a little bit too early to tell. I think my opinion is prices are going to soften. I think we're going to see a reduction in price. I don't know that it's going to fall off of a cliff, because there's just such low inventory in that price range, and there's still a lot of buyers. And I think what I've always liked about that price range is the last economic data that I saw in Fresno was that like the typical family of 4 makes about $48,000 here. And so if you're only making about $48,000 in Fresno, and you've got all the bills and things that come along with having a family of 4, you're kind of priced out of where new construction starts. So you're not competing against brand new homes. And so a lot of the next best option for you is a turnkey house that's been fully remodeled, that looks fresh and brand new. And there's just not a lot of that inventory here, especially closer to that $200,000 price point. So I don't even really like getting up to that 250 or even higher. I don't even like getting there. I think right around 200, 215, 220, that's kind of like my sweet spot for resale. And, that stuff moves pretty quickly. And so we'll see. I'm getting ready to list a couple of houses. One this week, and I think one next week in that price range. So I'll definitely report back to you and see what kind of activity that we're going to get on.
Yeah, it would be really cool if you could just go on to the comments on this video when we're done and just share, maybe a couple sentences of how that ended up going. That would be really awesome for
absolutely. Yeah, we're actually taking listing pictures today for one that we're listing for 215. So I expect that one to still move pretty quickly based off of everybody else that I'm talking to that's kind of selling houses in that market, both agents and investors. But there's a lot of volatility in the lending market right now, and I know you know that. And I think that's the thing for me that's kind of the wild card, is if they can't fix some of the stuff that's happening in lending, and those buyers, even if they want to buy, can't buy anymore, then that could be kind of a monkey wrench, man. So we'll see.
Got it. Well, guys, I hope you're learning a lot from Jason right now. We're going to give you an opportunity to continue to learn from him and a couple other local investors here in the Central Valley if you stay till the end of this interview. But Jason, I want to just ask you, you mentioned on that third deal there, or the third thing that you're really having to evaluate right now is yourself, your mind. You're trying to figure out like, hey, evaluation time, what's to do next. So talk me through like, what does that look like?
Sure. Here's one of the things that I've learned, Kyle, is that the real estate part of this business, the nuts and bolts of doing a transaction, the negotiating, you will get better at that just the longer that you do it. The more reps you get in, the more practice that you get in, it's a natural progression that you're going to see. What I have always found is the hard part for most people is getting your head screwed on straight the right way every single day. And now is the time where all that work that people put into self-improvement and developing the proper mindset, and this is where that's really going to pay dividends. So, I probably spend as much, sometimes more time on how to just cultivate the right mindset, how to not let things that are happening outside of my control have a negative impact on me. And I do that more than anybody else that I know, and I still struggle with it, man. You know what I mean? That's kind of like a lifelong journey for me. I've been doing that for years and years and years, and sometimes I still wake up and I'm like, man, like feeling down and feeling out and just not really into it. And so what I do is, this is where I feel like my network is starting to pay dividends. It's talking to people like you, talking to other people that we know that are kind of in our sphere of influence, other investors and people that I've made relationships with, just talking about what they're doing with their daily practices, what they're doing with their business, and not feeding into all the negativity that's out there. And that can be tough, man. You turn on Facebook or you turn on social media, and it's just, it's a lot of craziness going on out there, man. So we have to be very careful to put a fence around our mind and not let, the wrong message kind of creep in.
Yeah. And I even struggle with that with, creating the side segment of the Fearless Flipping podcast and focusing just on coronavirus stuff, because I know it's so easy to get on here and to complain and to vent and to, but at the same time, I think by doing this, by having people of high level thinking and that are trying to not just survive right now, but actually thrive through these times, is hopefully bringing a lot of value to people and listening to just exactly what's going on in your life without coming on here. And, I've been telling everyone the exact same thing. We're all on a level playing field right now. We're all being affected by this. So yeah, you can complain and I can complain, but at the end of the day, we have to get over this woe is me and figure out what in the world is next. And I just think that the people like you, the people that have been on this show, the people that have been listening to this show, that are looking for opportunities and keeping an ear open and eye open for those types of things, will be the ones that are winning on the other side of this. So yeah. With that being said, there's a great opportunity for people to win, to learn, to just understand a little bit more, going beyond this 15-minute interview that we're doing. You've got a meetup group. Now we're airing this on Monday. I'm recording this on Thursday. What is Monday? Monday's the
13th.
The 13th. Yeah. See, we're
nobody knows what day it is. Nobody knows what day it is. Everything.
I don't know if it's Wednesday. I don't know if it's Sunday. Yeah, no. Okay. So Monday, April 13th. And that's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right?
Yeah, Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m.
So you've got a really popular meetup group where usually about 100 to 120 people show up just here in Fresno. Now you've got an opportunity to do this thing virtually. People that are listening right now have a chance to be able to listen in and watch on the Zoom link that we're going to actually provide down in the description. But can you just give us a little bit of a taste of what that meetup is going to be all about?
Yeah. So it's going to be myself and a couple of our buddies and well-known investors out here, Dean Rogers and Stratton. And I think the premise of the meetup is to talk just about kind of what's happening in the market right now, focus specifically on what we're doing in the Central Valley, because all of us are investing in Fresno and kind of some of the surrounding counties. So I think we wanted to touch specifically on what we're doing here in this market. A lot of the webinars and stuff that I've been on have been talking about real estate kind of on a national level or on a bigger scale, which is great. But we wanted to talk specifically about what's happening in the Central Valley. So it's going to be just more of like a state of the union. And then we're going to talk about 3 specific things that we're doing and try to give tactical advice in those areas. So it's going to be touching on acquisitions and what we're doing differently on the acquisition side of our business. Specifically how we're negotiating with sellers, how we're locking up contracts virtually. We'll be talking about evaluating your business and eliminating some of those inefficiencies, increasing profitability, training and getting your employees and the people on your payroll ready to possibly continue to work virtually. And then dispositions, what we're doing to find more solid buyers, how to vet those buyers, how to match up what we're saying to sellers with the criteria that our buyers have. And really try to add some tactical stuff that people can use. So I think it's going to be useful.
Awesome. So what I hear there, I know you said you're really going to be focusing on this market, but I hear so many good things that people around the nation can benefit from by being a part of this. So guys, once again, today is April 13th as we're airing this. If you're listening the day of, then it's not too late to join this thing. We're going to have the description or the link in the description on the YouTube video. So if you're listening on the podcast, pause right now, go over to the YouTube video, click on that link in the description or save it. Go on right at 6 o'clock. It's not going to be recorded. It's only going to be live. And make sure that you are there to learn really just like what Jason is talking about there. It's really just about how to adjust the acquisition side, disposition, all of the things that you need to know right now in this market can help you to survive and thrive during these crazy times. So Jason, thank you so much for being on the show and helping our audience to conquer Corona.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for having me, man. Look forward to talking to you soon.